Kaidon Salter, transfer from Liberty, looks the part, experience. Julian Lewis, I'm going to be hard-pressed to find somebody who can spin it prettier than him all spring. Dude's beautiful. Dante Moore, maybe. So they're positioned well, is my point.
Yeah, and it's interesting how this all kind of like comes through too, because Deion has pretty famously said like, I'm not going to recruit at people's houses and rest of that stuff. So now he's got all these coaches. The luck of this, all these high school coaches are now coming to him for this event that you're at. So like, it's just to me that was kind of like a funny like side story of it, but. Yeah, to your point, like, and the coaching staff is like the NFL Network set from like 10 years ago, because you got Deion, you got Warren Sapp, you got Marshall Faulk. So obviously, the name factor alone on the coach. Never mind, like, pretend like they can't coach at all. Just from the name factor at all, like, you're gonna get people to come there because you're like, I want to do what he did. I want to be the next him. And so when you look at that quarterback situation, and Shedeur, he led the Big 12 in passing last year. He's the only one of the top 11 from the Big 12 last year of quarterbacks that is not returning. The next 10 guys are all coming back, so it'll be a whole and I think we'll kind of plunge into this as we go of the quarterback situations around, but it's fascinating how where he is right now. Obviously, he'll be, picked fairly high in the draft. Where that'll be, we'll find out in a month. But to look at what they've been able to do as far as replacing him, because there was that uncertainty. Because you'd see the rumors about the Cowboys job and stuff like that, and you're like, is Deion going to stay? Is Deion going to go? What's he going to do? Obviously, he's staying, and they've brought in 2 quarterbacks who, of various experience level, that are definitely, legit dudes.
Yeah, and I think there's a world of legitness that now, if legitness is a word, if it ends with S, it's a dollar sign. Like, because you have to pay 2 quarterbacks is the point.
Right.
Like, Kaidon Salter was highly sought after in the portal. The portal was not dramatically deep in talent at this position, in my opinion. You look at the year with Penix and Bo Nix, like, Jaden Daniels, like, totally different compared to now in my lens. I've talked to many coaches at premier places where I said, how come you didn't get a guy? And they're like, didn't feel as though that type of talent was there for the money, right? Fernando Mendoza, really good player, wouldn't put him in the Michael Penix Jr. category or Bo Nix category. Now, he might have been more successful at Cal than they were at Auburn, right? You could argue that. Like, I understand that lens. But I think the projection of those guys was higher than this year's portal class. So Kaidon Salter, to me, we were with him this summer. He's a Elite 11 counselor.
I was just going to say, that's how ironic that is, that both of those guys were at the Elite 11 last year. Neither of them attached to Colorado at the time.
Right. Miller Moss was at Elite 11 last year, and he and Julian were attached to SC.
And there you go. So it just shows you how funny how this quarterback world works right now.
Totally. And so last thing, we'll move on from Colorado. And again, we're going to get to Marcus Arroyo here in a moment. I think it's noteworthy because Colorado in its history has been, and Rick George has referenced this, of like, hey, we got to get our NL game up, our collective game up. Like, they just paid 2 quarterbacks. Very few teams across the country can do that at a premium level. They've done it. And I do think there's something to sitting, waiting, and letting it rip. That's what I love that USC has. We reference that in one of our more recent podcasts. We talked about the Big Ten in the quarterback position with Jaden Mayava and the freshman Hassan Longstreet, who's there. He's a rock star, right? He's another 5-star guy. Julian went to Colorado. Hassan came to USC, and away they went, as well as they added in a veteran in Sam Heward, who's a former 5-star quarterback as well. Like, I just think it's really cool when you can sit. Not for 2 or 3 years. We get that. That ain't happening anymore. Especially when you're Julian and you've reclassified, meaning he should be in his spring of his junior year in high school right now, entering his senior year. He reclassified, and now he's at Colorado, and he looked the part, dude. He didn't look like freshman. Now, can you process? Can you handle it? All the things that go into that, I have no idea. Like, I don't think anyone will until they go to games. Even if you go to 5 practices, I think it's really hard to navigate that. We try in the Big Ten. We go to 1 practice. We make a bunch of assumptions, but it's really hard from 1 day's of body work. So let's go through some of the bodies of work that we know. To Jim's point, I mean, among every power conference in the country, most quarterbacks are returning to the Big 12. Now, the argument is, are they elite? How many are in the first round next year in the draft? I think we look at it now, and I wouldn't confidently say any, but we'll see how the season unfolds. So let's start with your alma mater. Noah Fifita, they start spring ball, second one under Brent Brennan. I'm calling it kind of year one. I thought in his first season, it was very much retain, keep the players, keep them happy. Every time I've talked to people there, this is now his program. This is him saying, hey, if you don't want to be here, you can leave. Like, I'm not going to convince anybody to stay. Guy that had to stay because he didn't get paid a ton is T-Mac. I also hope he goes to the Raiders, by the way. Tetron McMillan, please go to the Raiders. Pete, choose him. I love him. He'll be great for your offense. With that said, Noah comes on back. We know Braden Locke transfers in from Wisconsin as well. But you got your ear to the grindstone there. What have you hear about Noah coming back and this really being his team? And by the way, he's got 2 years remaining.
Well, that's what is going to be so interesting, because it'll be the first time since, I don't know, what, 8th grade, or, you know, who knows how far back you're going to go, that he will not be throwing the ball to T-Mac.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know they just opened up their spring, you know, earlier this week. And one of the talk was about, obviously you can't replace T-Mac. I mean, this is a generational type player at Arizona, the highest rated recruit in program history. But they think that the wide receiver room as a whole is better than it was last year. Now, obviously, there's still that alpha dude that you got to replace. So how is Noah going to fit in with that? Because I think that was always kind of the selling point. One of the selling points with Noah is, like, they just have this connection. You know, he knows that he can just kind of do whatever. And at the end, they almost like know what each other is thinking. So now he's not going to have that. How are they going to adapt at that level? Because obviously last year, the expectations going into the season were really high for this Arizona team. This year, not the case. Yeah. I mean, I think this, you know, it's like they've almost flipped places with Arizona State. Now, granted, Arizona State had 0 expectations last year, and we saw what we all did. I'm not predicting Arizona is going to go to the CFP, but I think this will be, hopefully, a much more consistent season out of this team with the coaching staff. Because remember, I mean, these guys, the coaching staff all came in, you know, middle of January. Like, that's really hard to then, you know, put all these pieces together, especially in the portal era now, where everybody's, you know, as soon as Jed was leaving, everybody was either out the door or doing whatever. So now it'll actually be, to your point, like, okay, this is our team. Let's roll with this. And now we actually have kind of a cohesive message that we can put out as a football team.
Yeah, I think I'll go back to this. I'm going to hammer this thought. I think it's so much more challenging to take over a successful program now in this era than take over one that struggles. Look at the 2 schools we're talking about. Arizona, Jed Fish took over a program that was dramatically down. They win 1 game in year 1, very competitive. Then boom, 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 and all of a sudden they're double-digit wins. He goes to UW, and now you're trying to navigate a double-digit win season and a potential expanded CFP berth, a front runner to potentially win the new conference in the Big 12. On the other side, Arizona State, they take over a challenging situation, potential sanctions that eventually come out, and Kenny Dillingham just slowly builds this thing, and they go. And I just think that it's just smoother when you are coming from the very bottom in this era of retention. Because we have to, my opinion, this is not coming from Brent Brennan. This is not coming from somebody who's taken over programs that have had success. To me, when you take over a program that has success in the portal era, you have to placate. You got to play the game. You got to placate, because donors, fans, there's excitement. There's so much at stake. Why do you not want to ride out momentum? Like, of course you do. We all remember halftime of the basketball game when Noah and T-Mac roll out there at halftime, and all of a sudden it's raucous. It's crazy. But the season didn't play out, and partially to me, that's because you're kind of living in 2 worlds. So now Arizona gets their shot. Arizona State, Sam Leavitt. We got to give him love because he's a Heisman candidate to me. I went back and watched some of his games in anticipation of our conversation with Marcus Roy, and we will talk about Sam Leavitt with Marcus. But he's a guy coming out of West Linn, Oregon, went to Michigan State, I remember his recruiting tape in high school. You're thinking, oh, this will be interesting. Like, went to what's the old Colorado coach, Mel Tucker, signs with him. Jonathan gets the job. He dips, and Marcus has Jaden Rashada as a returning starter heading into his second season, and he goes and gets a Sam. And look at what happened. Led him to the CFP, 24 tuds, 6 picks, almost 3,000 yards. I mean, dude's a dude, man. I really think among the group returning, he's in the conversation of the top third of that league easily, if not the top third in America.
Yeah, and he's got the benefit, as we talked about Noah with T-Mac last year. He's going to have Jordan Tyson coming back,
former
healthy.
Buff.
Yeah, exactly. Tying it all together here. Who actually had his first breakout game against Arizona State as a freshman, but that's going to be a huge advantage to him, and that was what they didn't have in that Peach Bowl was a healthy Jordan Tyson. Imagine if he played in that game, we might have seen them moving on to the next round. But having that combination is going to be probably the best quarterback wide receiver combo in the Big 12 next year. I think that's pretty fair to say. And the funny thing with Leavitt is too, like his first ever scholarship offer was from Florida State when Kenny Dillingham was on the state staff there at Florida State. So they go back a ways there.
That's awesome, man. All right, let's go to the final school of the new ones that came from the West Coast in Utah. Utah's an interesting situation. I mean, around this time, a video would have already gone viral with the song Bad Moon Rising. And it'd be Cam at sunrise in his truck, and it'd be Kyle on his motorcycle or whatever. Like, no longer there, right? Isaac Wilson is there. He was thrust into action, did not play clean, hit the portal, decided to come on back. But I think we all know the reality here. It's Devin Dampier, transfers in from New Mexico. His offensive coordinator was Jason Beck, who's clearly a relative package deal. Jason Beck was hot. I can't tell you, I've probably talked to 4 programs in the offseason. They were all asking about this offense, all asking about him, and of course, intrigued with the quarterback. Now they come to Utah. I cannot wait to watch this play out, because there's a world where Kyle Whittingham was rolling through offensive coordinators. And then he found and reunited with the guy who led him to the Sugar Bowl win over Alabama in 2009 in Andy Ludwig. Andy Ludwig steps down midseason. It's a challenging season there on a bunch of levels. Now they're coming in with a different system. And the Kyle Whittingham that we've grown to know and really enjoy is one that gives true autonomy to that offense. He does. He always says it. It's their offense. In my opinion, when that offense struggles, they go back to what is Utah, the Utah way, which is run the football, play physical. I think when you have a dual threat quarterback in Dampier, we saw him against Washington State, Coug fans, you know what I'm talking about. I think this is going to be a real added value, because I don't think there's been as dynamic of a runner since year 1 of Cam Rising, when he was really healthy, or even Travis Wilson. Remember all 6'7" of them. Like, it's been a minute. I think this is going to allow Utah to reclaim some of that swag and some of that joy and definitely that physicality they had in the back of the day. We know the defense is going to be good with Morgan Scalley and company, but at this position, there's intrigue, man. Like, he reminds me a little bit of the quarterback at UW. Like there's a dual threat element there with Devin Dampier that I think can be pretty dynamic. So we'll see. I'm hopeful, man. I want Utah to come on back.
And I think the thing for them, what they need most is clarity.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was what really hurt them the last couple of years with Cam Rising and his injury status. The will he, won't he, can he play? Oh, he's going to try and come back. Like, I think that at that point, like, you could feel, even just watching the game on TV, you could feel the team just kind of riding on Cam, on his status. Like, when he got hurt, when he got tackled into the Gatorade bottles, like, just the air came out of that team. Just watching it on TV, you could tell. And they struggled the rest of that game, then they were able to pull it out. But I think if they're able to get some clarity, and if Devin Dampier is that guy that is able to give them that clarity, that, like, this is our starter, he's going to be healthy, let's roll, like, then you can really feel like they'll be able to get back to the Utah that we had seen in the latter years of the Pac-12.
Yeah, and look, we know Utah fans really well, and so many of you all subscribe to this show and this newsletter, and we love you for that. I mean, I can't wait to get back to Rice Eccles one day to call a game there, because it's just such an electric venue. But we're tracking you every week, and the thing that I believe will happen, because I know this is a passionate fan base, and I know there's a large, I'll say large, there was a portion of fans that were like, all right, let's turn the page, right? To your point of just clarity. And what I hope happens as the page is now truly turned, I hope the admiration for Cam Rising, for what he did for Utah football, is not only remembered, but I mean celebrated.
Yeah.
He had major injuries. We don't know what his future in football will be. He will command that vernacular. He will, I'm sure, when it's appropriate, share what he is doing, right? Like whether he is opting to play some sort of professional football, whether he's trying to apply for medical. Like, we don't know any of those details. We've reached out. There's nothing really new to report on. He's not playing for Utah anymore. But what he did to that team is different than what Alex Smith did to that team. Alex Smith did what they did in 2009. I'm forgetting the quarterback's name. I got so many names in my head right now.
Brian Johnson. No,
he did what Brian Johnson did, right?
Yeah.
And they got drafted really high. Was a Heisman finalist. Like, he did so many beautiful things, like that had never been done before at Utah. But Cam did it at the highest level in the competition every week, being premier. And if you can't remember that hit against SC he took and popped up with a smile, right? Like,
that's exactly where I was going to, if you didn't mention it, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because that is the defining moment of Utah football in the Cam Rising era.
Yeah. And I know that Kyle Whittingham will get a statue outside that stadium, which he's not going to ask for, but they're going to do it anyway. Cam Rising might not get a statue, but he deserves all of his flowers. He deserves to feel as though that's his program. I say that because, like, Jake Browning is somebody who comes to mind. Jake had a starter for 4 years, let him know CFP, but left UW, like, it wasn't the greatest relationship all the time, right? Because fans are so passionate. And I think when we look in hindsight of all of those elements, like, it shouldn't be an article in the Salt Lake Tribune a decade from now or in The Athletic written by our dear friend Bruce Feldman of, like, Cam Rising comes home, finally celebrated, like, from jump. So that's my ask of you, Utah fans, and I know a majority of you would sign off on that. I want to clump a couple guys together next, because there's some fun names. Avery Johnson, to me, an elite player, former Elite 11 quarterback. He's got a chance to be one of the best quarterbacks in America coming back. A little inconsistent at times last year, but also the ability to put a team on his back. Rocco Becht, he returns. I mean, he's a great story. Called one of the Iowa State games this year. His dad was former New York Jet. He's just a dude, right? He can play. He comes on back. Jake Retzloff. Remember the Tribe. I'm going to love on that guy, right? I look at him. I look at Baron Morton at Texas Tech, Jalen Daniels at Kansas. I mean, there's so many teams. I got to look down at my list here. I'm just excited for some of these guys that are coming on back. I mean, even when I look at Baylor and Sawyer Robinson, I mean, this guy had a heck of a season last year, threw for over 3,000 yards. So you look at those four quarterbacks, Jim, and to me, it's like, it just shows you that every week the discernment's going to be an all-time high. So, like, what will be the difference in this league when you look at the signal callers that return at such a premier level?
Yeah, I think we might see a lot of video game scores coming up in the Big 12.
Classic Big 12, yeah.
Exactly. You go back to what we've seen in the past. I mean, you got to throw Josh Hoover at TCU into that mix as well. Like, he had a great year last year. The ones that are kind of interesting to me, West Virginia.
Of course. There you go. Bear down.
Our guy, Rich Rod.
Hard edge.
Nico was not the full-time starter last year because Garrett Green was the starter at some points last year. Now he's going to the NFL draft as wide receiver, but Nico's back. But is he going to be like Rich Rod's guy? Does he fit into that one? If you look at UCF, like KJ Jefferson is gone, but Dylan Rizek, Ja'Cory Brown, both of those guys started last year. But then they're bringing in Taven Jackson from Indiana. You got to see up close and personal last year. And then another big transfer who I'm really interested to see what him getting like new life to him is Conner Weigman at Houston, coming from Texas A&M, former 5-star guy. So it's like, you're to the point, like every single week you're going to be getting a guy with some pedigree at that quarterback position.
Yeah. And the style of play at every place. Like Jalen Daniels. I mean, I'm trying to think, okay, who's the best quarterback? If you're going to draft a guy today, all healthy, Sam Leavitt, maybe. Jalen Daniels, maybe. Like you could start making arguments, right? Avery Johnson, Jake Retzloff, of course, Noah. Maybe you take Kaidon Salter. Like it is really going to be cool to watch this. Like we will be glued to their games because to me, we'll want to watch the whole game. I'm going to go immediately to third down red zone. Like the decisions made. And I'm on a text thread with a bunch of NFL draft guys now about the quarterback classes, and they're all just watching situational football. And I think it's going to be fun because these guys all have experiences in every situation. So then you go to, all right, to your point, will the quarterback win the league or will the defensive coordinator win the league? Like, is it Morgan Scalley's ability on third down to bring such chaos to win the league? Like that to me is going to be the dance of this thing that will make the Big 12 so fun. What do we know? We don't know who the favorite is. I know if I was going to choose a favorite, who I would pick. I would pick Arizona State. Not going to bet against Kenny Dillingham. Not going to bet against Marcus Arroyo. Not going to bet on what they are defensively. It's been so impressive since he has taken this thing over. The place that a little over a decade ago, he was running around going to class at in Kenny Dillingham. What I love is that his offensive coordinator, Marcus Arroyo, when he's running, he's running all across the country because he has influences, relationships, connections to so many coaches.